Thank you. Please be seated. Well, good evening everyone and welcome to the full council meeting of Tamworth Borough Council. I'd like to remind you all that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube. Apologies. Do we have any apologies for absence tonight?
Madam Mayor, we have apologies from Councillor Dan Maycock.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Apologies from Councillor John Wade. He's stuck at work in London, unfortunately.
Thank you. Item 2. I've not been notified of any declarations of interest. If you need to declare, could you please raise your hand? Thank you. Item 3 is announcements. I would like to welcome Councillor Paul Thompson. Where are you, Paul? Oh, welcome. I hope you're going to enjoy your first full council meeting. And I'd like to congratulate you and Councillor Farrell on winning a seat on the county. Welcome and congratulations. Yes, Councillor. Leader, Councillor Jeremy Oates.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd also like to welcome Councillor Thompson to the Chamber, but also like to reiterate, as per the email I circulated last week, that Councillor Thompson will replace former Councillor Ford on his committee allocation for the rest of the municipal year. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Chief Exec? No? Right. Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to announce that Tamworth Borough Council received a finalist award in the National Rossborough Awards. They won 3 shortlisted play areas nationally, and I think that's an incredible achievement. So I'd just like to thank everybody that's been involved in building that play area for the authority.
Thank you for that good bit of news. Councillor Clements.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As people will know, Staffordshire Day is on May the 1st. It's the same day every year. And this year the theme is Learn Something New. So I would like to ask everybody in this chamber if they could think about something that they could learn that's new, whether that be a language, whether that be turning the Hoover on in the morning or whatever. And I want as many photographs and videos, if you can do a video, sent to Tanya Phillips, just to prove that, you know, we as councillors can learn something new and get involved in Staffordshire Day on May the 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clements. Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With your grace. I'm not involved in the inner circle of the Conservative Party anymore, so I don't know if all their councillors are coming up in Mayory standing or not. But I'm aware there are 2 councillors in the Chamber who tonight marks their last meeting as councillors, and I think it would be remiss of the Chamber to thank them for their service. First of all, Councillor Dennis Box, who was obviously not intending to restand his seat in Glasgow in May. I've certainly got to know Dennis very well over the last 12 months, and I can tell you he's got an absolute heart of gold. His passion has gone into Glasgow and the surrounding area. He gives everything to the residents he tries to help. And what surprised me for a former UKIP councillor is he's an absolute raving socialist. Former trade union rep, absolute, as I say, heart of gold. And of course, Madam Mayor, Councillor Cherie People. I had a lovely text message from her husband earlier this week threatening me if I didn't say some nice things, but I was intending to anyway, Madam Mayor. As we know, Cherie has brought a dedication and some passion to certainly scrutiny and full council on this council. However, I don't think the community of Tamworth is losing councillor People because, as we know, actually, Councillor People does so much within the community, certainly around the heart of Tamworth, and we know that work's not been lost, and that work is essential up in the areas of Glasgow, Stonedelph, etc. So I just personally want to thank them both for their service and wish them all well in the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. You have missed somebody out. Myself. I shall not be standing in May either. I believe Councillor Kingston would like to make... Oh, Councillor Oates. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
If I may, Madam Mayor, I'd like to echo the sentiments of Councillor Cook. I wasn't aware Councillor Box was stepping down, so I wish you all the best and thank you for your service for the people you represent, not only in the ward that elected you, but across the whole of the borough. Also, Councillor Sheree People, not just Tamworth Borough Council, but prior to that, had a very active and very involved stint at Staffordshire County Council. And I can say Councillor Sheree People's legend lives on. I think Councillor Sheree People was responsible for nearly every call-in that was held at Staffordshire for the period she was on. So she's certainly not afraid at challenging and coming forward and making sure we consider the right things. So yes, it's with a little bit of sadness to say goodbye to both of you from the council, but I'm aware of the stuff you do in the community and the efforts you make and the contribution you make. So I think that should be celebrated, and we should be grateful for the work the pair of you have done. Madam Mayor, I appreciate you have announced you're not restanding, but you will have the pleasure of opening the next full council meeting. So it's not goodbye quite yet.
No, next one I shall be chairing is the one after that, May.
Yes, sorry, yeah. So it's not goodbye for yourself as yet,
No.
but you've really done a cracking job in the short time you've been on the council, and we're grateful for the guidance you give us at full council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Kingston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity just to say a few words. It's really to say thank you to officers and to many of the members here present for their wonderful support and kind words over the past 12 months since my Dicky Ticker started to play up, as I now call it, but also in particular over the recent months of my wife's ill health, which is still continuing and is going to continue, unfortunately, for many, many more months to come. As I mentioned before the start of the meeting, I really do want to thank you all personally. I know we had a pint, some of us, a couple of weeks ago, and the kind words that came through them were really, really nice. And it's really touched me. My voice is going a little bit because I'm talking about Lisa and people being kind. As a result of that, Lisa has just been released from hospital, having spent a few days in. So with your permission, Madam Mayor, once we've dealt with my question, which is on the agenda, I'm going to head home and spend some quality time. But thank you all for your kindness and support over recent months. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kingston. I'm sure everybody would wish your wife the very best. So if you'd like, are you proposing to leave now? Oh, it's after your question, isn't it? Okay, thank you. Right, we move on to questions. So the first question tonight is from Councillor Richard Kingston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Really quick, simple question, and it's to ask the Leader of the Council, when will we see a fully functioning council front desk service return to the town centre? Thank you.
Councillor Oates.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kingston, for your question. I can confirm that the council has a fully functioning front desk in the town centre, and this is located in Corporation Street and is housed within the building known as the Assembly Rooms. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm trying to come up with a colourful metaphor to describe what we've just heard, but I won't use one to describe the comment made by the Leader of the Council. On the back of what you've just said, Councillor Oates, and given comments on my social media feed over the recent 2 weeks since I started a petition to ask this council to debate the return to a full service, that petition, which has been penciled in for appearing in July-ish, depending on how the council calendar works out, and taking into account over 1,000 residents' concerns, several members of the control group actually liking those social media posts, a cabinet member actually stating on one of my social media posts that they could hear a conversation taking place in the front desk service that you say is being offered. Ex-council staff who have worked on front desk for many, many years saying that the current service is not up to standard and is not safe for the staff that work there. Feedback from countless users of the service that you say is there at the moment,
I say that the desk is not fit for purpose, and so do many of the residents of Tamworth. So, do you really, really want the residents of Tamworth to believe that the service you're saying is there is truly deserving of our residents, to our vulnerable residents at that? So, to get to the point, will you think again, and will you save me the embarrassment to you and the controlling group of having to present the petition in July, and think again about restoring a proper full desk service to Tamworth Town Centre? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kingston. Councillor Oates.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I thank Mr Kingston for his long explanation in terms of the supplementary. Madam Mayor, members of the public can access all council services through Corporation Street in exactly the same way as they could at the previous location. All services are delivered in just the same way as they were when reception was in Marmion House. We have now housed them in the historic building of the Assembly Rooms, but they are the same access and the same services we had before. Madam Mayor, it's 3 years and 1 day since this country went into lockdown. And I hear the comments made around comments on social media and feedback. We've not had a single complaint about access to an individual service come to Tamworth Borough Council. It's also important to be aware of the many other ways that people can access services of Tamworth Borough Council. But before I do that, let me explain some background. As COVID hit, like every other organisation, the council had to adapt, and adapted overnight. We didn't stop delivering our services to the citizens of Tamworth who needed them most. Marmion House did close, and as part of the adaptations, we then launched one of our biggest corporate programmes, which was Reset and Recovery Programme. This relocated the reception into Corporation Street. Just so you're aware, as a side note, Reset and Recovery is a multi-stream programme of change which aims to save this council in the region of £8 million over a 5-year period. As part of that programme, members have received no less than 5 separate updates on the change in landscape and expectation, and also the regeneration of Marmion House, investing in this building and responding to changes in public demand on services. But also, through those governance arrangements on that project, each scrutiny committee has reviewed its relevant part of the service transformation. Health and Wellbeing have debated customer service on a number of occasions, so has this full council. To deliver on the efficiencies and make better use of assets, tailoring services and redesign access has meant we've been able to continue to invest and deliver our vision of celebrating our heritage and creating a better future. By making the Town Hall our municipal headquarters, the Assembly Rooms our front door, and paving the way for town centre revitalisation, we're able to decommission Marmion House. But aside from the savings, Madam Mayor, let me clarify a few points in terms of the information around Tamworth Borough Council's reception. It's now located on Corporation Street. It's housed within a building we know and recognise as the Assembly Rooms. This is a front face of the council. It is open 6 days a week from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It also operates as a ticket office for not only council shows but third parties, and also acts as a tourist information centre for visitors to Tamworth. It supports local town centre business. So that additionality, we now have a reception that's open 6 days a week, plus, if there are shows on the Assembly Rooms, are open before and after shows, so open in the evenings and even on Sundays on occasions. We have increased the opportunity for face-to-face communications with the public. We continue to offer the same triage service to customers as we did in the old location in Marmion House. We signpost other agencies, we book appointments, we help people where they need help. In order to progress the redevelopment of Marmion House and be more efficient, we're investing in this building, bringing Tamworth Borough Council back to its home and celebrating our heritage. We're also looking at how we make our service more agile and responsive. In order to do this, we need to tailor our services and tailor them to the vulnerable citizens that we've talked about earlier on. We must ensure that those who do not have access to a telephone or the internet or a computer still have face-to-face opportunities. And we've repeatedly said we are committed to that. In fact, it was 11 months ago, I was asked by the then Leader of the Opposition to reconfirm that commitment. And that commitment is still there, Madam Mayor. We will continue to have face-to-face, front-facing reception for Tamworth Borough Council. At the moment, it's in Corporation Street. In the future, it may be somewhere else. The point is, we will continue to have that face-to-face. We also must be aware, Madam Mayor, of how we have changed the way we deliver services. I'll give you a couple of examples of how we've changed since the impact of the pandemic. In the last 12 months alone, we have made 800 home visits to people dealing with housing inquiries. This has included helping them fill in forms, either at their customer's home or at Corporation Street, in their home, where they're comfortable. We go out to them. We take the service to them. We're not demanding they come into town. We help people with a housing register verification in their home. Tenants' sustainability and support. We discuss rent arrears one-to-one in people's homes. We go out and visit them if they've got an issue. We give general money advice in their homes. Those unfortunate people that have to go into bed and breakfast because they're made homeless, we visit them there, or we arrange a mutual place where we can see them face to face. Our supported housing teams still do face-to-face wellbeing checks at all of our locations. We still offer mental health support and signpost. Revs and Benefits, give it the full name because we're in full council, now do home visits. Not only that, they hold surgeries at community locations in the community where people need help. Planning is available on site or on demand. Help with document verification is completed at reception. Referrals to food bank is made through all our staff when we see somebody vulnerable, whether that be at the front desk or at some of our outreach operations. We even offer ICT training from our council staff in the library. Support for rough sleepers is delivered with our partners, St Edith's Church, St John's, Heart of England and Communities Together. Outreach work for homelessness is delivered with our partners again at the Sacred Heart and Manor House. The customer services team also continue to and support benefit applications and form filling. We deliver all these services, not just in reception, not just online, not just on the phone, also in people's homes and in community venues across the town. We are doing far more than we've ever done to reach the people who need our help the most. That's only a short list, Madam Mayor. Members will receive a catalogue of support which we intend to convert into an easy, friendly to use fact sheet so we can signpost people to where they can access services easier. Let's not forget, most of our customers access us through the telephone. We also have web chat and email, and I appreciate the arguments around isolation and around being able to get onto the internet. Each month, our customer services team handles 8,500 telephone calls, 1,700 emails, and 650 online chat inquiries. This is in addition to the people that present face-to-face, the people we visit in their home, and the people we pick up at the various surgeries. Not only that, Madam Mayor, in our commitment to face-to-face, last week the Cabinet approved the creation of the Homelessness Hub, which will be launched based on asking partners to deliver surgeries with the council at a range of local venues, providing more opportunities for face-to-face and providing early intervention support for rough sleepers and those threatened by homelessness. Madam Mayor, we have stepped up in terms of our communications with the public and the people that need us most, not only through a front desk which delivers the same as the old front desk, but also by getting out of the office and going to see people face to face in their homes and in their local environments. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Oates. Do you wish to leave?
I will do, yes. Yes, thank you.
The second question tonight is from Councillor Sarah Daniels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Oates, I'm really glad you were up for detail. This question comes from seeing the front of the Tamworth Herald. Very excited as Bowhall's council, along with Councillor People and Councillor Harper, to hear news about the flooding under the arches and possible solutions. But as we're aware, not everyone has the Tamworth Herald. So my question is this: would the leader of the council comment on the proposed works proposed to be delivered by Staffordshire County Council, which we hope will prevent flooding at the arches, whose roads not only serve Bowl Hall, but also act as a key gateway to the other wards in the town?
Thank you. Councillor Oates.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Daniels, for your question. Firstly, I'd just like to have put on record that I stand here as a Tamworth Borough Council member, and Tamworth Borough Council does not have any involvement in those works. However, I am aware of the County Council project because I've got a different hat on where I've been involved in it. So I'll be answering this in terms of giving information rather than the Borough Council claiming any ownership or involvement in that process. So, Madam Mayor, a number of years ago, it was noticed that flooding was taking place at Glasgow Arch. I think it's actually decades. It was with my County Council hat on when I was elected in 2017. I asked for that to be looked into by the County Council. At the time, I was informed that no one at Stafford was aware of the issue and it had never been flagged up before, which amazes me. And I think it's one of those where it annoys everyone and causes problems for everybody, but everyone assumed that everybody was aware of it, and it clearly wasn't. So that was the feedback I got. So I pursued a number of options back then, including using my divisional highways plan to try and get some work done. So engaging with the cabinet members at county, this was eventually put onto a long list of potential works if the county ever got round to it. So the announcement on the front page of the Herald was quite an exciting announcement if you read it. So what I'm going to do now is explain what's actually happening. So what's actually happening is a series of survey works are taking place in the area and looking at solutions. So the £25,000 that has been allocated at County Council will look at the investigations around what is causing the flooding and what can be done better in terms of mitigating against that flooding, but also improving the flow of water away from that site. I don't think I need to explain. I think we're all aware that that site is a very low point, and the drainage works adjacent to the river are almost at the same height as the river itself. So as a result, there will be natural problems with shifting that water. It's also a key route, as you've suggested, to not only Bowl Hall but also Glasgow, Stoneydale and parts of Amington on that side of town. It's also a key pedestrian route. If we look at the area around the Tamworth Road at Kettlebrook, their school is William McGregor School, which is on the Glasgow Road. So in the morning, those school children have to walk through or adjacent to that flooding. So at the moment, the project is to do some technical survey work, actually find out what's under the ground, because unbelievably, there's no full record, identify what drainage is there, identify what other utilities are there, and identify the opportunities for what we can do to remove that water quicker, but also looking at other mitigating factors. One suggestion a number of years ago was around raising the footpath on the right-hand side so it isn't impacted by the water. I don't know how far that's going to go. That was just a suggestion that somebody came up with. So at the moment, it's £25,000 of investigative works to understand and identify the problem and identify what works can take place in that area. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Oates. Councillor Daniels, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the detail. I hoped for it and you delivered. You've mentioned finances. Is there any information for our residents about a potential timescale for those works? Thank you.
Councillor Oates.
In terms of those £25,000 worth of works that have been awarded, they will take place over the next 12 months. So it'll be programmed in within the integrated transport programme. Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to the third question. That's from Councillor Simon Goodall. Councillor Goodall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does the leader agree that Tamworth councillors should engage with officers and portfolio holders directly to solve residents' issues, or go straight to the media as their first port of call? Thank you.
Councillor Oates.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Goodall. There are a number of ways in which the public can access services, and I think I may have detailed those in my answer to question 1. Should a member of the public have reason to escalate their issue to a councillor, then that councillor has a number of options they may take. There is a dedicated email address for members to pursue housing inquiries, and this is monitored throughout office hours, so a response will be sent as soon as possible to members. The same applies to the community safety, and they have their email. If a local councillor cannot resolve their issue directly with officers, on that issue, they could engage the relevant portfolio holder and pursue it through the cabinet member and or senior officers. As far as I'm aware, the media, whether it be printed or social, does not deliver services on behalf of Tamworth Borough Council, and nor can it escalate issues or resolve those issues. So therefore, Councillor Goodall, I would agree with your comment that the first port of call should be to resolve the issue for the member of the public, and do that by reaching out to officers, senior officers or cabinet members. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Oates. So, Councillor Goodall, do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. That's the end of questions. We go on to item number 5, which is the Hackney Carriage licensing policy, and I shall hand over to Councillor Martin Summers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Top of the bill tonight, and the reason we're all here, the exciting bit. Tonight we have before us the draft Hackney Carriage and Private Hire licensing policy. It's been created with the overarching objective of public safety, and elements of the policy have been brought up to date, taking into account the Department for Transport statutory standards and the draft Department for Transport best practice guidance. It also brings in some common sense in terms of vehicle age at registration, which we hope will provide an incentive for new drivers to join the taxi trade, as well as retain our existing drivers. It also provides a nod to the future, with the upper limit for the age of taxis being removed if they're electric vehicles. So the main headlines for the policy: a new driver assessment for new applicants, a revised knowledge test for new applicants, mandatory safeguarding and disability discrimination awareness training every 3 years for drivers and operators, DBS checks to be carried out every 6 months on licensed drivers, DBS checks for vehicle proprietors and operators that are not drivers, revised penalty point system to collaborate with revised conditions for drivers, vehicles and operators, and as I said, removal of the lower age limits to license new vehicles. We'll now license taxis up to 10 years old for private hire, 12 years for Hackney Carriage, and no upper age limit for electric or hybrid vehicles. And a change in the frequency of testing, 1 per year for vehicles under 4 years, twice per year for vehicles over 4 years. So the policy will come into force on the 1st of April and take us up to 2028 if approved tonight. It will of course be kept under review, especially during the first year, and officers will have regular engagement with the trade. It's been quite some considerable time since the policy was updated, and my thanks go to Sarah Gear, our senior licence officer, sat in the back. There you go. Everybody look. Who basically rewrote the policy from the ground up with input from myself and Tina Clements, so also thank for her time given to this. The policy's been through our licensing committee twice and through a period of consultation, so everyone has had a good chance to have their say. With all that said, Madam Mayor, it just remains for me to move the recommendations in the report, seek a seconder for it, and reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor.
Happy to second, reserve the right, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We now move on to questions. Who would like to start with a question? Nobody.
Councillor J.
Where? Oh, Councillor J.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a quick question. Just wonder how it's been received from
people in the industry, taxi drivers in the town, the change of the vehicle age.
Councillor Summers?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. They did have some concerns about the age of vehicles being lowered, which we did take into account, but we felt we had to strike a better balance. I mean, it being 4 years seemed a bit much to replace when the vehicles, as we know, vehicles are in quite good nick these days when they're 10 years old or so, having owned several 10-year-old cars. So, yeah, I mean, we recognise their concerns, definitely, but we felt it was only fair to, in this kind of economic situation we're in, to allow people to retain their cars for longer, and indeed, we want more drivers in the town centre, and we've got incentives coming in, hopefully, which will increase the numbers even more so. But altogether a package of measures that will bring in more taxi drivers to the town centre, as we had heard the call to do from the public. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Jane.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Councillor Claymore?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Summers. Sorry. Councillor Summers, you mentioned incentives. Could you expand on that a bit, please?
Yes, thank you for your question. Well, I'm not fully up to date on the meetings that took place today, but we have had officers meet with the job centre to discuss more entrance into the taxi trade and what we can do to assist them. So that's still very much in the pipeline, and hopefully it will be fruitful, as I believe it has been. So I'm actually due a catch-up meeting on that after tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Any more questions? Right, we'll move on to debate. Would anybody like to start the debate? Councillor Cooper.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. As a chair of the licensing committee, and reading what's been put before us, it comes as no shock to me that this was, when this was put through the licensing committee, this was one of the quickest meetings I've ever attended, I think, and quite rightly, because as Councillor Summers alluded to, it's common sense. What it sets out, the excellent work that the officers have done, sets out a common sense way forward for Tamworth to start bringing in more people to get into taxis and to use taxis and to become taxi drivers. And I think that's it's a brilliant piece of work, and it's no shock to me that it just went straight through licensing committee. So yeah, I'll be definitely supporting this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Councillor Danny Cook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Echo the comments of Councillor Summers and Councillor Cooper. I think no-brainer is the word for this. It's a good common sense policy. It keeps the council legal, keeps the council in line with national legislation, obviously strikes the correct balance between encouraging the trade and regulating the trade. So I'm going to vote for this, as I seconded it, absolutely no problem. There's just one small issue I'd like to raise, and it's not something Councillor Summers or Councillor Oates can solve this evening. And it's just something I just think we need to think better about, but it's personal opinion. Many years ago, my employer sat on the corner of my desk and said, we've got a planning department somewhere else in the world that needs fixing. We're going to send you there for 8 days. 3 days later, I found myself in Chicago, which later turned into New York. Trying to get around Chicago and New York proved difficult for somebody who'd not been to the States in a long time. So I downloaded the Uber app. Long story short, when I lost my driving licence last year due to a medical issue, getting round Tamworth, getting to work and getting to patch issues, seeing residents became very difficult. Without the Uber app, I couldn't have coped this year. Uber gets me everywhere in Tamworth. I use it constantly, I use it all the time. It's clean, it's safe, it's easy, it takes the money straight from your bank account, you don't have to worry about having cash on you. It's such a wonderful service. Yet, every driver I use in Tamworth using Uber is either licensed from Solihull, Birmingham or Wolverhampton. Now, this is a national issue. It's not a Tamworth Borough Council issue, but I think it's one this council needs to somehow address at some point. This council is missing out on income licensing drivers that are operating quite legally in Tamworth, and I think that's a shame that this council misses out on that income. I know it's historically been a balance between ensuring we've got the right kind of drivers and we're putting the right sort of checks and balances in place versus what other councils might be doing. But I just think there's a real opportunity being missed by us not engaging with Uber. And that's not to be resolved this evening, and I'm happy we're going to vote for this policy because it's absolutely the correct policy. I'm just putting it out there for the future. We need to somehow resolve how we engage with Uber and other online operators out there. I book a taxi on Uber, it sends me a picture of the driver, his licence plate, all his details on my phone. My daughter regularly gets a taxi home from Tamworth to Stonydelph, where she can also send the tracking of the taxi to her fiancé. So if the taxi doesn't bring her home, he can then track that taxi. It's the safest system you can possibly use. And we're not engaging with it as a council. I just feel that's a little bit of a shame. Not for a resolution this evening, and I don't think we can resolve this evening because it's a national problem. But I just want to put it out there. I think we're missing a trick in Tamworth and we need to resolve that at some point. But again, happy to vote for the policy, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor Summers.
Thank you. I do agree. And I'm a fan of Uber myself. I mean, they're relatively new still in the context of taxi operators as such. We do have to be careful with them. I mean, it's been said that they're the safest system you can have. Well, Transport for London didn't think so when they either did or nearly suspended their licence in London because of the vetting of drivers not being up to scratch and corporate culture being abysmal. So we do have to be careful. And if you notice, the Ubers that are registered that come here to work are not, yes, they're not registered in this town, they're registered in mostly Coventry, I believe. So we don't want to be in a situation where our officers are overrun with applications from out of area for those to work out of area and not within Tamworth. So we have to approach it carefully. But I do agree, Uber is, or taxi apps are the way forward. And I believe some of our local operators do have apps which they could probably push a bit more and perhaps compete with the Ubers of this world. There's no reason why they couldn't do it, to be quite honest, if they put the money in and you know, picked a technology provider, because they could get into that market just as easily, if not, and do it better than Uber, in fact. But yeah, I agree with the sentiment.
Thank you. Councillor Jay.
Yep, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's an excellent piece of work from the officers and portfolio holders. It looks at protecting passengers with all the checks and balances, access for disabled passengers. And then I think it's a really welcome change, the vehicle age, because we need to do anything we can to retain existing drivers and attract new ones, so that we can all get taxis when we need them in Tamworth. So yeah, definitely welcome changes and happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more contributions to debate before we go to the vote? Councillor Summers, would you like to sum up?
Point of clarification, Madam Mayor. Councillor Summers has spoken, which means he can't sum up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Right, we'll go straight to the vote then. Sorry? I was going to vote, sorry, I was sure. Watch it. Right. All in favour of the Hackney Carriage licensing policy? All in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? That is unanimous. Thank you. That brings the meeting to an end tonight. Thank you all for your attendance and have a safe journey home.
Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, please be on standing for the mayor.